Week 4, Docker Compose. Docker Compose is a tool for defining and running multi-container Docker applications. It allows you to define your application's services, networks, and volumes in a YAML file, and then start and stop your application with a single command. With Docker Compose, you can define multiple containers that are run together as a single application, and also define the relationships between those containers. For example, you can define a web server container and a database container, and specify that the web server container depends on the database container. Docker Compose also allows you to manage your application's environment variables, configure your container's networking, and mount volumes for persistent data storage. To use Docker Compose, you first need to define your application's services and their configurations in a YAML file called dockercompose.yml. Once you have defined your services, you can use the Docker Compose up command to start your application, and the Docker Compose down command to stop it. Overall, Docker Compose is a powerful tool for managing complex Docker applications, making it easier to deploy, scale, and maintain them. Creating a Docker Compose file. To create a Docker Compose file, follow these steps. Define your services. First, identify the services that make up your application. For example, you might have a web server, a database, and a worker service. Define each service in the dockercompose.yml file using the services key. Here's an example of a simple dockercompose.yml file with two services. This defines two services, web and DB. The web service runs in Nginx web server and maps port 80 on the host machine to port 80 in the container. The DB service runs a MySQL database server and sets the root password to example using an environment variable. Define your networks. Next, define any custom networks that your services need to communicate with each other. You can use the networks key to define networks and the services key to assign services to those networks. Define your volumes. Finally, define any volumes that your services need to store data persistently. You can use the volumes key to define volumes and the services key to mount those volumes in containers. Once you have defined your services, networks, and volumes in the dockercompose.yml file, you can use the Docker Compose up command to start your application. Docker Compose will create and manage the containers for each service and set up the necessary networking and storage. Managing multi-container applications. Docker Compose is an excellent tool for managing multi-container applications, making it easy to define, build, and run complex Docker environments with multiple interconnected services. Here are some of the ways that Docker Compose can help you manage multi-container applications. 1. Easy setup. With Docker Compose, you can define your entire application stack in a single dockercompose.yml file, making it easy to set up and manage your entire environment. This allows you to define all of your services, networks, and volumes in one place and quickly spin up your entire stack with a single command. 2. Inter-service communication. Docker Compose provides an easy way to configure inter-service communication, allowing your services to communicate with each other over defined networks. This makes it easy to build complex, distributed applications with multiple interconnected services. 3. Scaling. Docker Compose makes it easy to scale your application horizontally by adding or removing containers as needed. You can use the Docker Compose up scale command to launch multiple instances of a service, allowing you to handle increased traffic or workload. 4. Version control. Your Docker Compose.yml file can be version controlled alongside your code, allowing you to keep track of changes to your application stack over time. This makes it easy to roll back to a previous version of your application or deploy a new version with confidence. 5. Management and orchestration. Docker Compose can be used in conjunction with other orchestration tools like Kubernetes to manage and orchestrate containerized applications at scale. This allows you to deploy and manage multi-container applications across multiple hosts or cloud providers. Overall, Docker Compose provides a powerful set of tools for managing multi-container applications, making it easier to build, deploy, and scale complex Docker environments. Deploying applications with Docker Compose. Deploying applications with Docker Compose is a straightforward process. Once you have defined your services, networks, and volumes in a Docker Compose.yml file, you can use the following steps to deploy your application. 1. Build your images. If you have defined custom images for your services, you need to build them first. You can use the Docker Compose build command to build your images. If you want to build only a specific service, you can specify the service name like this: Docker Compose build service name. 2. Start your containers. Once your images are built, you can start your containers with the Docker Compose up command. By default, this command starts all the containers defined in the Docker Compose.yml file. If you want to start only a specific service, you can specify the service name like this: Docker Compose up service name. You can also use the D option to start your containers in detached mode, which runs them in the background. 3. Verify your deployment. Once your containers are running, you can verify your deployment by accessing your application in a web browser or by using a command line tool like curl. If everything is working correctly, you should see your application running as expected. 4. Scale your services. If you need to scale your application horizontally, you can use the Docker Compose up scale service name equals number of instances command to launch multiple instances of a service. For example, if you want to launch 4 instances of your web service, you can use the following command: Docker Compose up scale web equals 4. These are the basic steps for deploying applications with Docker Compose. Once you're comfortable with these steps, you can explore more advanced features like customizing container settings, using environment variables, and integrating with external tools and services.
Thanks for watching. For more information, like, comment, and subscribe our channel.